Good morning and welcome to our show today. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to try to get through the worst times of our lives. And these are the worst times of our lives, so getting through them is one of the most difficult times of life, period. Unfortunately, we often hear many trite euphemisms that tell us that we should just get over it. Come on, you can get through this. You're strong. You'll handle it. Maybe this is God's will. Everything happens for a reason. Uh, don't cry. Let me take a little piece of this for you, and let's bring you some food. And yeah, then it's like, forget about it. If we try to do these things, if we really try hard to do these things, we're just going to end up suspending critical thinking and end up on another pink cloud again. But what if there were a way to use this opportunity to become more real, to find out more about the real me? That's not typically what we want to think about during the worst times of our lives. We want the worst times of our lives to go away. We want to feel better. And we live in a feel better society where feeling better makes everyone feel better. So if you're crying, then people get uncomfortable and they want to say something trite, so it'll just kind of disappear for the moment. If you're in sorrow or anger or terribly anxious or whatever, you're making everybody else uncomfortable and they don't want to be around that. So they're going to say something trite, commonly, that's going to seem to make it go away. And you're supposed to feel better, so they'll feel better. The problem with that is feeling better is not really a solution, because at these worst times of our lives, it is very common for us to get to this place, this really, really hard place where we say, I don't even know who I am anymore. And at that place, that is the unique opportunity for us to find out, for us to begin to say, okay, if I don't even know who I am anymore, then how can I find out who I am? Well, that will be an internal journey. These really horrible external circumstances are horrible. They should not be minimized in any way. They are terrible. And they vary in their extremes. And we're stuck. We can't make it go away. We can't fix it, which maybe some other times in our lives we've been able to fix things. But this time, no. That's why we call them the worst times of our lives, because they can't get fixed. So what do? Well, we go internal, and that's the last place we want to go. We can do the song and dance of the external and think we're getting through something just to get to feel better. We can drink and drug, we can sex, we can get really, really, really busy. We can try really hard not to think about it. We can run to our friends and neighbors and talk about it all the time. We can do all kinds of things that are meant to make us feel better. In some spiritual persuasions, we're taught to just feel it for a few seconds and then release it. That's kind of bypassing the real depth of the feeling, but that's what we're taught to do. And of course, we get on another pink cloud that will just drop us back into the abyss again. So what can we do? We can go internal. We can learn to sit with what's coming up. Now, that's hard to do. I say it's hard to do. It's a challenge, and it's a brave one. And I do not recommend that you try to do it all by yourself. This is a time for therapy. And I would say choose a therapist who knows something about the journey to the authentic self. But this will be a journey of awareness. It'll be a journey where the object of the game is to trust that the psyche is always leaning toward wholeness. Let me say that again. The psyche is always leaning toward wholeness. In other words, it wants to use everything in your life, both internal and external, to bring you to wholeness. Does that always happen? No. We can definitely resist the psyche with another part of our brains. We have that capacity. We have options. But getting to the place of I don't even know who I am anymore is one of the biggest and best and hardest opportunities we will have to find out who we really are. And so we take a journey to awareness. Now, we don't have to do that all at once. We don't have to jump into these big, hard emotions and say, I'm going to feel them all today. No, little pieces, little pieces. Sit with a little feeling, then get up, go do something self soothing. Go do something self soothing. I'm not talking about self coping, I'm talking about something that soothes. It's a little like that grandmother who picks you up and you're crying, 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 and she's holding you and rocking you and, just letting you cry. She's not saying, get over it. This is God's will. None of those trite things. She's just holding you and rocking and rocking and rocking. And when the crying is out, she looks at you, cups her hands in your face, and says, I love you. And then she says, let's go for a walk now, you and me. And what that says is, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to be with you. That's it. I'm going to be with you. And then we're going to do something self soothing. So that can be a walk. It can be listening to music that you love. It can, now I'm not talking about going to a spa or having your nails done or doing some, retail therapy. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something that literally soothes you inside, that just gives you just a moment or two of peace. Doesn't have to last forever. You're not going to do this wrong. This is not a pass fail. This is, I'm going to feel it, a little of it, and then I'm going to do something self-soothing. And then I'm going to wait for another time when I'm ready, and I'm going to feel it again, and then I'm going to do something self-soothing. And after a while, you're going to be able to name these feelings, and there's a myriad of them, but you're going to be able to name them. That takes some time too. And then ultimately, you're going to be able to use some tools that will facilitate that greater growth, where you can begin to journal, or you can begin to watch your dreams, or you can begin to process by more readily talking to your therapist about those deep things you found when you were sitting with it. There's some tools. And ultimately what this does, and there's many tools, okay, and we can talk about that another time, but ultimately what this does is get you to a place of integration where consciousness and unconsciousness begin to be connected. I think of integration in two ways. One is where two chemicals are joined together to become a third chemical. That's alchemical, and it's considered to be integration. There's another kind that I think of, which is what I heard about in the 1960s when I watched and became a part of the riots for the civil rights for Black people. They wanted integration instead of segregation, and they absolutely deserved it. And they wanted to be able to go to the same schools, drink out of the same water fountains, use the same bathrooms, go to the same restaurants. In other words, they wanted to integrate with us. And that's kind of what your soul, another word for authentic self, wants to do. It wants to drink at the same water fountains, use the same bathrooms, eat at the same restaurants as you, as the version of you used to know. It wants to integrate those. It wants to integrate consciousness with unconsciousness. And so that's the journey. That's where the psyche leads us to wholeness. So that's our talk for today. We'll be back again another time. Stay tuned.